The following podcast has been brought to you by Audible.com. Sign up now using the URL audibletrial.com/TTV to get a free audiobook of your choosing. We recommend Brick by Brick, How LEGO Rewrote the Rules of Innovation and Conquered the Global Toy Industry. You may recognize this as one of the sources we use in our show, Bionicle Autopsy. Remember, that's audibletrial.com/TTV. Enjoy the show.
Nobody else bought him.
Can we just say that was probably one of the worst leaks as far as the leaks of Bionicle go, is just having the sets for sale earlier than the release date?
Yeah, the release date.
December.
I enjoyed that hunt, if I'm being honest. I enjoyed driving an hour away to Target and catching employees.
That always happens every year. Right. It's part of the tradition almost.
Yeah. But you know what was not a loss was the amount of parts you got for that price. That was good.
Yeah.
That was a victory.
I mean, obviously, I had nothing to do with the actual sets, but I have to say though that you can say what you want about the story, and you can criticize me all you want, but the sets. I mean, I enjoy the sets.
Do you own any of the sets?
Yes, I do.
Nice.
Ooh, which ones?
Well, actually, I do have Loss.
Yeah, awesome.
I guess I felt sorry for him.
No shame. Loss is a good set.
I got two Losses actually. I've never bought two of a set before, and I bought two of them because they're so it's a well designed set and there's a lot of parts.
It's almost a 2001 Rahi callback.
Right.
In a lot of ways.
That's what it feels like.
Technic builds of the old.
But yeah.
He's a very mysterious character, too, in story. We don't really know what's up with him.
I have a funny theory coming out, but yeah. Back to story. Kai, didn't you want to ask
something? I wanted to ask something. Because, I've been, I'm by no means a screenwriter, but I don't know if you saw on our channel, we're doing this thing called On Air. So I've sort of written, a bit of a script, right? And one of the things that got me is that it's so hard to tell how long it's going to be when I wrote a script. I remember we wrote it and we recorded it, and it was way longer than I thought it was.
Yeah, it ended up being 30 minutes.
Right.
We wanted it to be 10.
Right. So how do you time your script to be exactly 90 seconds? How do you get that to be,
Well, first of all, I mean, if you think the voice actor that you got was bad, I mean, you should hear the temp that I did a million times over.
Oh wow!
But there's no way around it. I mean, I just had to do it. I had the big advantage for me, of course, was that I worked very closely together with the storyboard artists, which meant that we had a very good sense. Even every screen or every script is rewritten at least 3, 4, or 5 times, which is perfectly normal. That's what you do. And obviously they're always too long to begin with, so don't feel bad about that. That's always what happens. And then you have to start tightening up, and strangely enough, it always gets better. I mean, whenever you sort of rewrite it and you cut out some of the things or you find out, well, I can say this is told, this information is given way better in animation or in some movement or whatever. I mean, it gets better that way. But having the storyboard artists working close together with me in that aspect just made it a lot easier. But also, it's you write it out and you read it aloud, and you try and picture it, and you have to do it again and again and again and again, and then you hit the 90-second mark, which was also kind of fun because there was just around it. It just had to hit that mark.
It had to be 90 seconds. There was okay.
So it couldn't be any shorter or any longer at all. It was
not 91 seconds.
Well, I think when you go back and look at it, there might be a few seconds, but really, right. I mean, 90 seconds. That's what we aim for.
I remember when the last one came out too, and it was a lot longer than 90 seconds. People were really excited, we're gonna get this thing. there's a lot of credits.
Yeah. I was excited for the credits.
I think it's great that they have the thing, but for a lot of fans being guys, the 9th episode is so minutes long.
Oh, we're gonna get an epic battle.
Right, we're gonna
Lost climbs back up from the cavern.
To be honest, I got kind of disappointed too. I was expecting more. But yeah, well, I knew. I should have known.
I have a question in regards to the translations, because we mentioned how sometimes like Czech episodes would come out early or Italian episodes would come out early. So the English episodes are the original ones, right? Those are the first ones made, and then the script is then translated afterwards.
Yes, everything we did was in English. And one of the reasons we had to work so fast was that we had to have it out there so that the different countries themselves could translate.
Okay.
So this was done in the different countries. I mean, there was all theirs. So that meant that we had to have our versions ready, way ahead of time, so that they could do that. So actually, there is no Danish version of neither the scripts nor the animations.
Okay, because I remember that was one of our discussions in a podcast. Where
I
wonder
remember
if there's
that.
Danish.
That's awesome.
I guess what is it like working in English? I don't know. For us in the U.S., learning other languages isn't usually too important as far as writing or doing really anything, because the U.S. But is it like weird working in English versus working in Danish? Is there any difference between that writing style?
Well, as you can hear, I mean, obviously, I'm not a native speaker, and obviously, I can't write in the way that a native person would. But on the other hand, we do. I mean, when you're from such a small language group as I am, the Danish language group, I mean, you're pretty much forced to work with other languages, and especially if you want to be professional writing. I mean, you have to have that part of it, and so it's. I mean, a lot of the projects that I do are somehow in English or will be translated or whatever. So it is. I don't know. Come to think of it, this whole being part of a global culture and being part of this whole geek thing, the sort of the language of that is English, obviously. I mean, everything we ever got from there, the the movies and the games and the TV shows, everything was in English. So in a way, it actually feels more natural.
Oh.
Probably, come to think of it, if we had been, I mean, obviously we speak, the Danes of the story team obviously speak Danish to each other. Everything else would be kind of weird, but write stuff, and when we talk about stuff, I mean, we use a lot of the English terms, and we use a lot of the, and it actually feels quite natural.
Yeah. Okay. I guess that's true. I don't really think about it, but like most geek culture is either Japanese or American. Like a lot of the stuff either comes from like Star Wars.
British. There's some British stuff.
Yeah, Doctor Who.
Like Doctor Who and stuff. I guess
Don't
that
discount
also
Doctor Who.
But that's also English, in that
that's true.
In that realm. That's English or Japanese are the two big languages of geekdom. So
geekdom.
Right.
Yeah, and none of us are all that fluent in Japanese. So
So you mentioned as far as working with the animations that you do work with the Bionicle story team and everything. I'm curious as far as like how when you're adapting the story, do you have to follow like a story Bible or anything, or do you have the Bionicle story team oversee what you're doing? I'm assuming that you have to get some kind of like review of your scripts to make sure that they follow the story properly or anything.
Yeah, well, I mean, as I said, there is a story Bible, and then there's a character Bible. There's all the stuff written there beforehand. And when I got, as I said, when I got into the project, there was already a synopsis for every episode, so we knew pretty much where things were going to start and where they were going to end. Okay. Obviously, how exactly it was going to get to there was part of what I could add to the mix, and it was it was pretty much a ping pong thing. We sort of sent I'd do a draft of a script and send it to the other guys, and they'd look at it and have their comments, and I'd rewrite a couple of times and have it back and forth with the storyboarders, and later on actually the animators. I mean, I actually do rewrites. Some parts of it I'd rewrite even when they were in animation. If they sort of figured out, this could be cool if we did it this way. Is there any way you could write a different line for this guy? And I'd come in and do a line like that. So it was a very organic process, really, and it was never like it was never like I had this feeling that they have to say okay or not okay or being reviewed or anything, or it was more like everybody had their points, and it was just like I sort of just assembled or sort of brought the threads together and tried to make it as fluent as I possibly could.
So I suppose you could say, in terms of actually writing the events of the episodes, you could feel the power.
Oh my god! Oh my goodness! That took off.
Soon
I have to say I did not and I have the scripts to prove it. I did not use that many R's. I might have put in a little note that said "say it like a pirate" or something like that. But I think credit due to the to the voice acting and the director there. So
that line is.
I think
best.
they had a field day.
It's like the most iconic thing from 2015.
Yeah, I love that line.
Right. So, without
I can't take credit for that. I wrote the line, but they shaped it.
Right, they made it into what it was. Without giving any details, because I know that probably falls under NDA and stuff. Can you tell us and I know there's a lot of stuff in the Story Bible that doesn't ever even make it out to to anybody outside of that, but is the Story Bible pretty in depth? Because one of the things right now we're going through is that we don't really know much about the island, and we don't know much about the stuff. Mata Nui, the old Bionicle had this Mata Nui, had all this stuff in it. Could you at least maybe give us some insight, how much do they have planned and how much they thought it out through without really giving the specific details, but are there villages, or do they have lists for governments or something? Yeah.
No, I might not have seen everything. I mean, I probably was only given the parts that were relevant to what I was going to be doing, and it wasn't that much. I mean, it wasn't that much in depth. It was more. Obviously, it had to do with what sort of play scenarios do we want to promote? What kind of emotion, engagement? What's the feeling that we're going for here? And then, of course, there would be a few facts that we would base on. But I think probably also, I mean, that there was some. Because there was so much information to take from the previous storyline, the Generation 1 or whatever you call it, probably I think they had this idea that it would be sort of a can of worms to open if you were going to drag a lot of that in or try to sort it out or whatever. So I think the basic idea was that the dynamic between the character and the dynamics between the powers was the most important thing to get through and take from the original line. And from there, it was pretty much, terra incognita. I mean, you could build whatever you saw fit in order to create the most fantastic journey for these characters. So I think it would be my guess. I don't know, but it would be my guess that was a conscious choice, that they did not want to feed us with 350-page Bibles that would sort of control everything. And I think probably that's also, I mean, that's probably one of the places where the old Bionicle line couldn't just be continued. And I know that there was a lot of talk about that. Was it going to be a continuation, or was it going to be a reboot? And
endless debates.
An endless debate. And reboot obviously was the whole idea from the beginning, because it would have been too much to try and restore all of these things and try and pick up on lines. And again, I think that Lego proceeded, even though there was going to be some sort of Bionicle community that was important to listen to and important to be in dialogue with. The sets were going to be sold to a completely new age group or a completely new set of customers. I think was primarily their the sense that they had about it,
right.
And
so best to kind of drop the whole baggage of the old line because it'd be too much to get into for newer people.
Yeah,
it makes a lot of sense.
And I don't know. Obviously I as you know, I mean, I follow things online as much as anybody else, and the whole idea about, well, is it now being turned into something for kids, and is it going to be dumbed down and whatever? And I think probably one of the reasons that you weren't going to have a continuation was exactly not to have the dumbing down feeling. Because when you try to start things over and you try to sort of reintroduce them, and I mean, if you were going to, the whole entire concept of Matanui, if you were going to try and sort of retell it and stuff like that to a new audience that didn't know about it, then you would have to dumb it down to begin with, because it was.
That is a very interesting point.
So I think the whole idea was that instead of trying to drag something that was an epic in itself, try and sort of drag that down in order to re-explain it, it was much better to sort of start from a new ground and let things grow upwards instead. Right. I obviously, yes, the line is meant for kids, but there was definitely no intention of making anything seem more dumb or more stupid than the first time around.
Right. So the Vahi theory is incorrect.
Oh my goodness, we have been spreading the misinformation.
Oh well.
Well,
hey,
Kahi.
we still don't know where the Toa came from. I'm just saying.
I still blame you.
But I remembered there was a point too in the interim when Bionicle was canceled, and when we started doing videos, and before it came back, we recorded this one thing, and I don't think we ever released it. And it was an idea of like what we would do if Bionicle. Like if Lego was like came to us and said, "Hey, you guys have the reins of Bionicle now," and we did this thing where we're like, all right, we deliberated.
It'd be
and
so
we're like,
over complex.
Right.
Let's be real here.
It was too complex. You're like, we had all these characters and like motivation of how we do, but we did end up saying, we should do a reboot. Like even as fans, we came to that realization that like telling the story.
We were always part of it. Like,
right.
We always thought a reboot would be the best way to bring it back.
It was really the only way, as you're saying, without disrespecting. That has come before.
I would
it's
say
a difficult situation, and like I mentioned,
and again, I don't blame, since the Toa are still so much. I mean, even that. I mean, we were talking about them as the Toa all along, and it was actually kind of a decision that was brought on later. That listen, let's talk about the heroes instead, because we don't want people to be put off by the word. So that was, I mean, the story team in a way insisted on keeping that word along the Toa, because I mean it just made sense. But they're still very much the same in a way, and we still look to the original Toa for inspiration. And I think you could actually argue that since they weren't changed all that much, it's not that strange that people would assume that in a way there's some sort of continuation going on here. And I don't know. I don't know the entire story, and I definitely don't know the plans ahead. So I would assume that probably, if not actual things from the first line is going to pop up, then at least inspiration from that will keep coming up, and sort of connections to that, and will keep popping up. So it's still the foundation of the whole thing, even though it's a reboot.
Right.
That's very interesting.
Like
in regards,
in the Marvel movie, like you'll get that thing where like Thanos appears, and all the comic fans are like, "Oh, what, Thanos?" And some people are like, "I don't know who this person is."
I was like that when I saw Avengers. It's like there's such a rich mythology. It's difficult to understand.
Right, but inspiration, even if like certain things aren't there, but inspiration from those lines will be that's nice.
What were you saying, Alger?
Yeah, no. In regards to kind of rebooting that and keeping in line with the characters from the original story, did you ever go back yourself and look at the original source material, maybe from the first few years, and kind of see, all right, so they're kind of like this, see how they can be updated, maybe modified just a little bit?
Well, actually, it was part of my job not to do that.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Because the whole point was that there was the story team there, and they knew everything, and I wasn't involved in the first generation of Bionicle. I wasn't involved in working that. I sort of followed it on the sideline because I knew a lot of these people that worked on it, and obviously, I knew what was there, what was going on, but I didn't go back to the details. In a way, I actually tried to sort of clear my mind of it once I started working on it, because I had complete confidence that they were going to catch any blunders. I mean, if I veered off too much of the source material or did something that would, cause problems later on the storyline, then they'd say so. But actually, I tried as much as I could to look at it as a completely new concept, even though obviously the characters are very similar to the first generation characters, which also has to do with the fact that we're in iconic storytelling land here. So I mean, there's not going to be a lot of there's not going to be a lot of surprises as to what kind of powers are in play and what kind of elements will you be working with, and what do these elements signal. Obviously, fire and water and well, jungle.
Jungle.
It was a good decision.
Yeah, in that same kind of train of thinking, what's your favorite character to write and your least favorite?
It developed. I have to say that, and this was again, I think I have to take a bit of responsibility for that, because I was very focused on Tahoe to begin with, and said, and it was born from this whole idea about we're having just one voice actor and having to sort of retell the story, tell the story for a completely new audience. We had to assume that whoever we told the story to knew nothing about the story. And then it was sort of in my experience, I mean, there's introducing an ensembler to begin with, introducing an entire crowd to begin with would be confusing when you only had 90 seconds to do it within. And also, I mean, you had things that you had to repeat. There were things that had to be done within these. So really, I mean, there was very limited amount of original content for each of these episodes. And I actually argued that we needed to sort of be able to identify with just one character to begin with and then build upon that. Mm-hmm. I have to admit, now when I look back on when I see them, especially when I see them sort of in a flow, I might change my mind because it really doesn't begin, in my opinion, it really doesn't begin to live before the sixth story altogether. I mean, that's when it really starts to get emotional and starts to get interesting, and which is also the
best episode when they all meet.
Yeah, and
yeah, it's my personal favorite as well.
You can look forward to the summer wave, because this is, I mean, we definitely found out what worked and what didn't work, and I would say that those are as a whole far more fulfilling episodes than the beginning. So there was kind of a transition in the beginning, I have to admit. So yeah, well, but finding that a lot of the energy and a lot of the dynamic has to do specifically with these 6 characters interacting, and each character is not. I mean, we don't have time to establish that anyhow. I mean, so they're not very deep. It's not like they have 3 psychological layers that you have to know, but they each represent sort of a mood and it's just, they playing off of each other. It's very interesting. It's a lot of fun. So back to the question, Tahoe obviously was the one that I was most interested in to begin with, but then I don't know. I think things, so pardon the pun, cooled off, and I got very much into Kopaka.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd say that.
I have to admit that I don't know, Lee was sort of stole a lot, and well, I don't know. I don't even really want to just pinpoint one because Pohato also he stole my heart as well. I don't know. I have the Gali. And this was actually the first one that I got was the Gali set. Because I like these female characters in these sort of very male dominated universe. Right. I think it's always interesting. But she has a tough job because she has to be sort of the voice of reason and the voice of empathy in midst of just a lot of crazy chaos going on. So I tried to push her a lot. I really tried to get her as much into the mix as I possibly could because I thought she was, I owed that to her. Yeah. But to be fair, I mean, well, maybe later on there'll be more of her. Well, I don't know. They were all fun to write. Well,
strong spider characters in Bionicle.
you communicated his inner struggle through his grunts and snarls very well.
Yeah, you have a lot of good points in your podcast, but one of the points that you had that were really that I really agreed with was that having antagonists that are sort of wild beasts just is not as interesting as having sentient and intelligent individual antagonists. So I have to admit that the whole swarm enemy thing is not all that interesting to write. I mean, you want to find characters, you want to find their motivations, you want to find what triggers them as characters, and I mean it's pretty hard to do with just a beast, and we pretty much had that, and that of course was decided by what sets were there. So, Lost wasn't really. that big of a challenge to write.
However, I do
without
agree with
spoiling
Messo.
anything. You go first.
I do agree with you, Messo. I think you definitely did a great job telling Lost's inner struggle with gravity.
His outer struggle with gravity.
His outer struggle with gravity.
Well, it's like, obviously you can't spoil and tell future story, and you probably don't even know this far in advance. Anyway, do you think we maybe will ever see Lost come back and get his revenge? Or is he like a one-note villain? And he's like done with.
I think he deserves more screen time, at least, but I don't know. Maybe some spin-offs. Maybe I do a bootleg. You know what?
That would be the greatest thing. A Lost spin-off. I would love it.
and it could actually be kind of interesting. He would be this sort of, there's always been this tradition for the anti-hero. And so like this noir feeling to it. But what about the bad guys? I mean, there's going to be anti-bad guys as well. These kind of, sort of washed out, didn't really make it. I had very short screen time and stuff like that. And these guys, I guess down at the bottom of that pit, they have their bars where they sit and drink whiskey and think about old times and stuff like that.
Lost can hang out with the 3 skull spiders that Tahu punched when he first came down. And they can be like his lackeys.
Just imagine this series of animations revolving around Lost where he keeps trying to defeat the Toa, and each time he's defeated in some like the Toa are in the middle of a battle with an actual enemy, and Tahu shoots fire or something and misses the real enemy and hits Lost.
Oh my goodness!
That's just his. Every episode, he just gets defeated
he's
by
walking
accident.
Around.
The Toa don't even realize he's around.
The unemployment line and following up the checks and then being
he's got a trench coat.
I used to have a job and then someone dropped me off the cliff.
It's just so pitiful every time I watch that episode where they fight him. Pohatu just throws his boomerang at him for no reason.
Hits him in the face.
That's so unfair. That's so unfair. And this is going to be one of the stories that he's going to tell his therapist, that's for sure.
Right, he hit me in the face with a boomerang.
For no reason. It didn't even do anything.
We don't even have Australians on this island. Where did he get the boomerang?
Pohatu's Australian.
Now that's actually part of a discussion that I'm not going to get into. First of all, I mean, I don't know the accents one from the other. I mean, this is my attempt at a Danish accent. So believe me, I know nothing about accents. So don't ask me what nationality the Toa are, because I don't know. I have no clue.
Trust me, I wasn't planning on it.
Well, Kopaka sounds British, and Kawachu sounds Australian. Yeah, whatever.
I don't know what Liwa sounds like.
We're not going to get into what Liwa sounds like, but it should have been
Dark,
Irish.
dark
In
and
regards to the animations,
It should have been you.
what's your favorite part about working on just everything regarding the line?
Getting paid.
Well, no, actually, because that was not the most impressive part of it. No, it was the team. It was I mean, it was so much fun. And also, I mean, I've been writing a lot of different screenplays and stuff like that on projects that never, amounted to anything, and it ended up, being canceled at the last minute, and all this here, long, painstakingly long development hell processes and stuff like that. And this was a project where it was like, I mean, we worked really, really hard. We had a very, very tight deadline, but everybody just knew that it was, we had to deliver now. And it just, it was like camp. It was like a sporting event or something like that. We just really got into it. And the whole thing that you could shoot off an idea and see it in a storyboard, the next day. And it was extremely fulfilling. And it gave a lot of energy to the whole thing. And I really enjoyed working with both the story team, of course, and the animators, because everybody just knew that there wasn't going to be time to sit down and have your darlings or fight for your little corner or something like that. We just had to get it to work. It just had to work, and it actually made for a very positive vibe, which was really worth it. I mean, everything. It of course, you can always wish for more time and more money and all this here, but as a process, this was very fulfilling.
Wow, that is fantastic. That sounds
good
really great to be a part of.
It sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Right,
man.
being in crunch time, and I've done that with finals.
That hardly
I have a lot of
counts.
finals project, and like
very
just
different.
sitting down and get that.
Yeah.
But I like that attitude of being ready to do stuff.
Yeah. Now, out of this, considering that seems to be an incredibly fun process, out of all of that, do you have any particular moment that just sticks out to you as being like your favorite that you can just recall?
Whoa, no, they're all in a mix. I mean, it all feels like sort of a one huge burst of energy. But probably I think that one of the things that stuck out was the first time I heard or I saw one of the animatics, because we had the storyboards being done, and then the animatics right on top of that with a temp the voice acting, and I did one of those, and hearing my voice with this animatic was really a kick, but also a very clear reminder that being a voice actor is not an easy task and cannot be done by anyone. And you really have to know that. I think some people might think that people that are professional voice actors, that must be like, they couldn't make it as real actors, and this was sort of the second best job they could get. That is so far from the truth. I mean, a good voice actor is a very rare thing to come by, and it's so hard. It's really, really hard. And I guess you guys probably know, as you work a lot with, the media itself, but trying to convey the emotions with your voice, and you just sound so tame if you're not a trained voice actor. I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's just gray and gray. It sounded so dull, and it was really hysterically bad, and I enjoyed that. Obviously, I knew it was not going to be used, but it was a good reminder that you need professionals.
Maybe in the future we'll see a protector character, maybe a villager, and he'll be off on the side, and he'll have one line, and we'll know who it is. deep down.
Exactly. Maybe at one point I'm actually going to leak some of the old animatics.
That would be great.
That would be. I'm always interested in like Christian Faber's doing that thing now where he's doing behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, it's
so fun.
It's so great.
I love getting
I
that
love
kind of insight. It's just really cool seeing the production and like what actually goes into everything that we enjoy. And
Right.
My favorite thing that he's posted hasn't even been about Bionicle. It was Voodoo Heads.
Oh my
just love
goodness,
that.
Meso. It's always the
is Bionicle,
obscurities.
Meso.
It's the precursor.
Yeah. I have a question. Do you ever are you involved with like the community? Sort of like, do you ever get like or that's not what I'm asking. Do you receive like or pay attention to feedback or anything and take suggestions from the community towards like how you go about the animations and write your script?
Well, in a way, yes. I mean, because I read a lot about what's being said, and I hear the podcasts and stuff like that. And obviously, in a way that sort of I'm not totally neutral to that. I mean, that does affect the ideas that I get and the way that I go about things. Obviously, when you tell stories professionally and you write professionally, there are so many parts of doing that sort of are part of craft and ideas. This might sound funny, but getting ideas and working with ideas is actually a very, very small part of creating story. A lot of it is just hard work, trying to get lines to work, trying to get scenes to work, identifying your plot points, and it's a lot of work that goes into that. But the ideas and inspiration and research and everything you do before you get into the writing process is all sort of stored in a sort of strange pulp that lies in the back of your head, and everything sort of seeps from that into your mind when you start doing your things. So there's no doubt that some of the reactions that have been out there, obviously, I mean, we had to finish at an early stage, so I didn't really. There wasn't direct response to what I've done, but I could hear what people thought about the characters and the universe and stuff like that, and obviously that has some way affected it. I would never be able to point at anything specific because it doesn't work that way. Mm-hmm. It's just part of as I say, sort of a pulp that is mixed in with the work, the actual writing.
Okay.
Wow.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Along that same kind of venue, do you ever see yourself becoming more involved with the overall fan base, such as going on forums, answering questions from fans there, so on and so forth?
And to bounce off that question, are you even allowed to do that? Because I think I remember there being like some kind of rule with Lego where Lego employees can't actually communicate with people under 12 or something like that.
People 13 or under, I think. No, it has to be 13. Yeah.
Well, the whole point is that I'm not actually, and this is also why I feel confident talking to you guys, is that I'm actually not a Lego employee as such. I'm just a freelancer. I'm just a writer
that's true.
That's been hired in. So I think I don't know. It's not covered in the NDA that I signed, which has a lot, or only has to do with not revealing any of the information that is not already publicly out there. So I would say that I don't think I'm limited in that way. And I could definitely see myself engaging more. I mean, it's like, again, it feels a bit like coming home, even though I haven't been part of the Bionicle fan base because I didn't really have the age for it. But I knew what was going on, and I thought it was interesting, and I was I freaked out about the big twist in the storyline and thought that was just spectacular. But I have to say that the involvement or just watching the community as I have the past year now, it just feels like the good old times of role playing games or comic books or whatever. And I don't know, it feels right. It feels like home.
Awesome.
Well, that is fantastic.
So, regarding that NDA, I guess you can't tell us how many summer episodes we'll be getting.
No, I can't. But
Well darn.
probably not. But I think no one would be surprised if the summer wave looked pretty much like the winter wave.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They mentioned at NYCC we were getting 20 in total, but there's a lot of confusion if they count the character videos.
Right.
Or
Yeah,
not,
like those character
so
trailer ones.
There's like 6
presuming that we got 9 animations plus the legend, it would make sense if we got another equal batch in the summer.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
or close to. Well, we're
Yes,
looking forward to
you might think that I couldn't possibly comment.
it. Yeah, that is perfectly okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, we're drawing to a close pretty soon here. However, there are a couple more questions. The lightning round.
Oh, yeah, the lightning round.
Yeah.
Here
we
we
may
go.
close off with LJ. I'll let you handle
Basically, the pointless questions that could be answered in one.
this. No, the
word.
point the questions that give us more insight into you as a person.
Yeah, exactly. Like, all right, lightning round. Favorite movie?
Oh, Blade Runner.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
They just had it. I mean, I just saw it on the big screen. When was it? 2 days ago, because they had a re-release of the 2007 version, the one that they call Final Cut, the one they did for the Blu-ray version, I think it was, and they actually had that up in one of the largest movie screens in Copenhagen. And I went and saw it with my son, and that it just freaked me out. I saw it when I was 11 in 1982. When it screened the first time, and now I saw it with my son, who is 20 years old, and I don't know. Yeah, Blade Runner. That's my all-time favorite movie. I don't know how many times I've seen that movie.
Favorite book series?
Yeah, well, what's going to be my favorite book series? Problem is that I'm a Dane, and that means that the books that sort of shaped my childhood was very much, Danish, Scandinavian, European literature.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, though, that speaking of a series, it's probably Tintin, the comic book series.
Yes. Oh,
Ooh.
yes.
This is how I learned to read. I just had to know what was going on. So I just, I picked out those. And that was, back in the 70s. So comic books were sort of the odd thing there, and I just enjoyed that. That was the first kind of stardom that I really got, or fandom that I really got involved in was comic books, the old European comic books, and then later on, of course, the U.S. comic books as well.
Yeah. All right, I got 2 more. Favorite food?
It has to be Mexican. I actually used to run a Mexican restaurant, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
For 2.5 years, I ran a Mexican restaurant. It was the family. I mean, my dad had started the restaurant, and then he wanted to sort of pass it on, and I drove it into the ground. Found out that maybe I'm not meant to do this, and then I became a writer.
Oh, that works.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay, fair enough.
But I still do a mean guacamole, I tell you.
Oh.
It's been so
Nice.
long since I've had guacamole.
I don't like
All
guacamole.
right, okay, I got another one. I mentioned this on the podcast. Have you ever walked into a room and one guy just pointed to you and was like, "Look, it's the man."
I remember this one.
Oh, yeah. Well, I do get a lot of, funny comments on my name. And I have to admit that, one of the early leaks of this Bionicle thing was a document. You saw it, obviously.
Yeah.
Where my name was in it. And I mean, I had signed an NDA, and then all of a sudden my name is out, leaked on some stupid document. And I'm like, hey, come on, guys. What are you doing? I was thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be swarmed with silly questions and stuff like that. But luckily, I have a decoy, a very effective decoy, which is the real Merlin Mann.
Yes, I swear.
This guy is a total superstar on the internet. Yes. And he'll eat any hit. So I don't know how many calls he got, but I'm just saying,
I swear,
great.
seriously, before this interview, I looked up Merlin Mann, and I see this thing. I see the Wikipedia article. I'm like, okay, all right. I'm trying to look up stuff so we can discuss, former projects you've done. And then I go to your Twitter, and I'm like, there's nothing here about Bionicle. Wait a second. And then I go back, Merlin P, man. Oh. Uh-oh.
And this is actually the reason I put that, I have my middle name on there all the time because, that's the only way Google is going to be able to.
That is
It's
fantastic.
so ironic that he happens to be a writer too.
Isn't it?
I know. I did legitimately think that was you. When we first got that document, I remember one of the things that kind of legitimized it was that they actually had a name for the author.
Yeah, that's who
and
we
were
thought
like,
was
well,
part of it.
That's kind of weird. Yeah, that they would actually have a name for the author, and we looked it up, and we're like, well, he's a writer, and I forget what he did. I forgot this other Merlin Mann.
runs
He was the first one. Yeah,
he runs some podcast or something.
yeah,
or
he's
other.
on some
Effective
podcast.
decoy.
He does.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that is a perfect decoy.
There are so many leaks.
Cat's out of the bag now, I guess.
Yeah. The average Joe will still be confused.
Yeah.
But actually, in Denmark, we are among the right age group of. We are a bit kind of celebrities in a way with the Tiny book series that we've done. So when we go out to book fairs and or go out to visit schools and stuff like that, we'll have some people recognizing us. But
cool.
the name, obviously, the face is not that. and also this is another advantage of doing books for kids is that basically they don't care. They don't really care who did them. I mean, they're into the characters, they're into the universe and stuff like that, which is actually very satisfying. When I talk to adults about the stuff I do, I mean, they're always interested in sort of well, were you extremely poor before you broke up, you made it, or all these, this story about your life and stuff like that. And the books are they never really get into the real stories, whereas kids, they're only interested in the stories. So I don't know. It's extremely satisfying to do books for kids because they care about the characters that you write and not about if you're involved in a political movement or whatever. So
Oh, we steer clear of that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you did.
Yeah. All right. Well, in that case, last lightning round question. This is you were talking about geek culture and all that, and I know this is something everyone here is getting into pretty recently. And so I want to see if you recognize this. Have you ever flown a Firefly?
What?
Dang.
What?
Kahi would get this.
I do get this. I don't know why you're asking it though. It wouldn't be better to say, all right, which fandoms have you been part of?
My
okay,
goodness.
sure.
Kahi, that's such a boring way of asking.
You could have just been like, do you want to build a snowman? That's the equivalent of what you asked, except not as culturally well known.
No, you see, if I had done that, Var would have jumped in, started singing. We would have had an opera house going on here.
Do you want to be a song?
Okay, I'm done.
See,
All right.
guys. Oh, you crack me up.
I'm glad.
I'm glad you're gonna do it. I'm glad our audience extends above the people in our comment section sometimes. Because some of the
No
comments are
offense
really
to you
good.
guys. You're
Yeah,
great.
yes.
Don't what did you do? Don't insult the
No, I'm
audience.
not insulting the audience. I'm saying that some of the comments are really good and have good discussion.
And then
And there
some
are
are yelling at
comments.
us.
Yeah, some
Too
are
bad.
yeah.
It's very nice to just have
But
a
it's
discussion.
it's nice to know that we entertain on a variety of audiences.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Thanks, Kahi.
quite honestly, that's pretty much it. I guess a final note would be, do you have anything you'd like to say to the Bionicle community at large before we wrap today?
Well, I mean, apart from I'm sorry for the feelings I might have hurt. It wasn't intentional in any way. No. Jokes. That's all. I've never felt so much at home in a writing job as I have in doing this for Bionicle. I mean, this has really been sort of an experience of returning to what really started it all. I mean, the whole reason I got into storytelling, the whole reason I got into writing was, being a fan and being part of a community. It wasn't a Bionicle community, but there are so many similarities, so it just feels extremely cool to be here.
Well, it's extremely cool to have you here.
Yeah.
It's very good, and it gives
great.
me a lot of confidence in the future of Bionicle that the people who are working on the project are passionate about it, and they enjoy working on it, and they respect the values that make it unique and different from other IPs in its field. So, we can pick apart the state of Bionicle all day, and we can argue about minute things, but at the end of the day, we all like it.
We only
And the
care
best
because
way-
we love it.
We only
Right.
care because we love it. And the best way to see it grow and grow bigger and better is to follow it and support it. And that's what we're going to plan on continuing to do. And I want to thank you for clearly caring about it so much to give it your all. And
Right, yeah.
stick with it.
Thank you guys, and thanks for what you're doing. I mean, I'm going to enjoy following whatever you come up with and the comments that you'll have for especially the summer wave coming up now.
We are
and
looking
also-
forward to it.
And I mean, even though I have my internet decoy, I'm there on the web. Look me up. Look up my Twitter, and if you have any more questions, people out there, I'll be happy to chip in with what little I know.
Yeah. Again, you're on Twitter as at Merlin P Man, I believe, right? Is that your
Yes.
Twitter handle?
Yep.
That's me.
All right. Can we reach you anywhere? Like, are you anywhere else on the internet? Do you have like a web page or like anything? Or
Yeah, I
the
do,
best
but-
way to...
I do, but it's in Danish. So if you really want a fun laugh, you should go on Google Translate and take my Danish webpage, which is merlinpman.dk, and you'll have a field day with that, I'm sure.
Great.
But I'm not very good at updating that. So I mean, Twitter is probably
Right.
more where I'm active.
Fair enough. Well,
All right.
thank you very much for coming on today. We've had a
Yeah.
blast. And this has been a very interesting insight into the process of Bionicle 2015.
I'm very glad we're able to talk with the because that Greg's not. I mean, Greg was kind of the face for a while, so now that there's no face, I'm glad we're able to talk with all these different people getting into it.
It's very exciting. Exciting times are ahead. So thank you very much for coming on today.
Thank you,
And
guys.
maybe sometime in the future we can talk to you again.
Well, you're welcome.
Yeah.
I'll be here.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you.
This has been the Merlin Mann interview about Bionicle 2015, among other things. Thank you all very much for listening. Post up your comments in the comments section below.
I just realized we
And-
never introduced ourselves at the
I
start.
know. I was thinking that as we were reaching the end, we never actually said who we were. Did
It's
we?
okay.
Fair enough.
Oh well, everyone knows
Oh,
we're here.
Yeah, do you want to do it now or blow
Fine,
off?
we'll do it now.
Okay.
We'll do it
Thank you.
live.
Thank you all very much for listening to this interview. I'm Messanek.
I'm Barteran.
I'm LJ.
And I'm Kahi.
And thank you to Merlin Mann again, and we will see you all for the other videos that we create. Goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.
All right.
Adios.
Bye.